Yeah, man. I don't know. It's, like Tesla himself, he went to the dream state, and the dream state is just a weird place, man. So these psychics, they're channeling this information that they're calling the universal consciousness, whatever the hell, seeing this stuff, and they don't really know what the hell they're dealing with, man. You know? So it's kind of interesting that, like, maybe the government, when they brought in Edgar Cayce, we know the government's involved in some occult type activities. Who's to say they didn't already have their own information about the future? They brought in Cayce to kind of compare and see what he was saying, to see if it matched up with exactly, or if it was contradicting what they already knew, and then goes a little bit further. Like, once again, does time travel exist? If so, I'm pretty sure governments are the ones who have this technology. Who knows if they're manipulating the timelines? I don't know, man. So it's hard to say who's a charlatan and who's not. I mean, obviously there are charlatans who are just lying, but I think there are some legit psychics who do see future events, but how do they know it's actually going to happen?
Yeah. Well, this is my theory on it. I think predicting the future is possible.
Yeah.
But I think it's like so take like I know I use this metaphor all the time, but like a pool of water, right? That's flat, right?
Okay.
Someone throws a rock into it and there's ripples that go out, right? But so what I think it is, if it's possible, it's that someone's looking into the future according to that moment in time, right? So in that very moment in time, they're looking at the future that would be if that person that was asking the question about the future didn't make any alterations to, because the future can't be static, right? I do not believe that. I believe that the future, sort of like string theory, at every moment, at every possible moment that someone could decide to do this or that or that or that, can alter. So I think the future is always altering, right? Depending on the decisions people make. And so what I think is the future is like this thing that psychics or prophets can see, but it's not concrete, right? They're seeing it from that moment that rock hit the water and those ripples went out. They're looking at it. They're like, oh, okay, that happens. Boom, 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 from that moment. But the second they come back, already the future's changed. Because they're only seeing what it might look like from that specific spot in the past, right? So every second that moves forward, that future that they saw, the fidelity of it gets muddier and muddier and muddier, right? So it's almost like the future isn't concrete. It's a very unconcrete thing, and it's a very, malleable thing, like a pool of water. But what it does provide you is kind of generalizations of what might happen. Like a psychic can basically say, let's say you're a fucking junkie and you go to a psychic, and you're like, what's my future? Well, I can pretty much predict you're going to OD, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But a psychic might go out into the future and go, oh yeah, you're continuing on this path that I saw you just now on. Yeah, you're going to OD in 2 weeks and 3 days, and you're going to get a bad batch of heroin, and it's going to be too strong, and you're going to OD, right? So then that prediction is given to the junkie, and the junkie goes, even though that's not hard to predict, right? I guess a better example would be like, a psychic telling you, you need to leave this job. I don't understand why. I don't know. You need to leave this job because I can, it's almost like, I think it'd be more plausible if they actually saw multiple futures, right? Where they can go in and go, I can see all these different futures for you, and they're all bad if you stay at this fucking job, right? You're going to piss off you're going to piss off that coworker for whatever reason. They're unhinged. And at some future, something bad's going to happen. Either they're going to come in and they're going to snap and they're going to shoot up the whole place, or they're going to get mad and they're going to tell a lie about you to your boss and you're going to get fired. And it's going to ruin your career, or they're going to manipulate things behind the scenes to make you, whatever it is. So it's almost like I see future looking as not so like it's crystal clear. I think it's really would be more of a muddy thing, and you have to almost take them more as generalizations. Does that make sense? See, that's where I think it's more possible. This thinking that the future is set in stone and that a psychic can just see the exact futures, I don't buy that.
So my little caveat to what you're saying would be, and again, this is a theory, right? Mm-hmm. Is that when they did the experiment in Antarctica, the other multiverse place, time was running from the end backwards, right? Mm. So again, I'm not saying that what you're saying couldn't be correct or anything like that, because again, that's just a theory. But to how they were describing it, we're going forward in time, and the other multiverse that they think that was happening because of the studies in Antarctica, that it was time running backwards, which means time would already have had to have happened, right? And to them, we're the time running backwards, right? So maybe it's just the string on the string theory guitar, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe like how you were saying, maybe Edgar Cayce was just tapping into those strings of what possibly could be if these, set of events occurred, right? Maybe in a specific string, that is what happened. I don't know. Who knows? But
yeah, could it be like the in quantum physics, the double slit experiment? Mm-hmm. Where what is it? They observe the particle of light.
The particle. Yeah.
And it was observed.
When they observed it, I think it split, or did it
change?
It changed its behavior by the simple act of observation.
Looking at it, just by looking at it. But when they weren't observing it, nothing happened. So could the future, like with psychics, could that be the same thing? So once you see the future, you observing it changes what the future actually is, As if you're not observing the future, well, then whatever the future is going to be is what the future is going to be. But once you start observing it, boom, I don't know, man. It's who the hell knows at the end of the day.
It's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough one. Because it gets down to the basics of what is reality
and perception.
And what is your perception of it? Mm-hmm. Because that's the other weird part. We know that reality is different. Just like we know that insects look at flowers, they're not the same colors as we see. They're all different colors. They're a different UV, and they look, that flower that looks yellow might actually look like a big blue landing pad or something, to attract the insect. We just, our perception is so limited that it's like, that's my other problem with this type of stuff too, is how can we predict the future when we can't even know what's happening now in concrete?
Mm-hmm. You're right, because we only see in a specific light, right?
Yeah.
But there's probably things going on around us that we don't see.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And how many
of them? That brings into what is reality for everything, not just the keyhole, right?
Yeah, not just our little tiny perception of it. What the fuck is the bigger, and a scientist would say, well, we've got that. We can take reality and we can break it down into different spectrums, and but even that, you could say, how much of reality is there that is just so that we don't have equipment to even register it. That's, that gets into our supernatural conversation. Or sometimes we've talked about, supernatural phenomenon, and how, what if it's just normal stuff that we're just not used to seeing, and we're just kind of catching just a glimpse of it passing here and there. Our cameras catch a glimpse of it. And it's just some other reality that, we're not aware of, or something going on.
Oh yeah, just like kind of to what you're saying there, 999. Take a city. So we'll use Albuquerque since we live right near it, right? Do we really know what's going on in every corner of Albuquerque? Like no. At the same time? No.
No, not even close.
Then someone can make an argument, oh, there's news. Like, yeah, there is news, but they report on what they want to report on. There is no way we can know what's going on in every square foot of Albuquerque at the same time, So you're right. You're in your little corner, and there's something else going on over there at that corner of the city, and something else going on over at this part of the city, all at the same time. And we have the audacity to think we can know the future,
Yeah, we don't even know what fucking now is. We don't really even know what now is. And that's kind of the kind of freaky part of it.
Right. And it almost kind of goes back to quantum physics, right? Your reality is very limited to just what's around you right there in your immediate vicinity. Like I know my dad's down in Texas, right? But if I get on the road and drive down there, it's not until I get there and see him that he exists, really. I know he's alive and everything, but
it's that Schrodinger's box thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, is the cat is the cat in the box? Really?
Yeah.
Or it maybe not until you observe it. It's not. That's a super, super head fuck right there.
Yeah, that's something I've thought about every time I go on the road, man. Like you leave your place, right? And like, I know like you and Gabe are here, right? But once I go on the road and I'm in my vehicle on the interstate, man, no one else exists aside from me in the vehicle and the other vehicles around me, Doesn't matter who I'm going to go visit, whatever, it's like at that specific moment in time, no one else exists because they're not there, they don't exist until I see them again, and it's I don't know. Maybe we're going a different direction in this conversation.
No, but I think we're getting into the meat and potatoes of, is future soothsaying and future psychic ability possible? And we're to me that's where I think it is, but I think the meat and potatoes of it is I don't. Not only can we not trust it, how are we even sure that anyone within the past 300 years has actually saw the future? We don't know.
Well, look, I'm not saying that everybody's abilities are genuine.
Yeah.
But there is a commonality between all humans, right? That we experience strange phenomenon even on a daily, daily occurrence, right? And I'll give you one. Like, how do you know people are staring at you when your back is turned?
Yeah.
Right? How is that? Like, how do you know that? We've all experienced something like that. We're like, what? Why do I feel like someone's looking at me, right?
Yeah.
And then you turn around and you're like, oh, okay, someone is looking at me. How do we have that innate ability to feel somebody's perception on us? Is it the energy that they're creating? Because we do know that there's an aura, there's an energy that we do create. The Chinese talk about it, right? The qi.
Yeah.
Right? The Indians, the qi. And so we know that there's another avenue to our perception of what life is, but we're trying to define these different abilities based on our limited filters that we have as humans, or our limited knowledge, I should say, right? And so I think that there is a universal, flow. There's a universal energy that we do tap into, right? Qi is one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Now, again, do we use that on a daily basis all the time? No, but we do, communicate in some ways. And I'll give you an example. When you've been with a girl for a long time, right? You start to say things, that you're thinking, right? Yeah. How is that? right? How is it that two brains can automatically at that point just come up with the same thing?
Yep. Well, and I'll give another example too. That's all I've always found to be quite trippy. When women's menses cycle, that's fucking weird. That's
and
weird.
Music, right? They've shown that music, your heart, pumps with the rhythm. How does that happen? That happens to humans.
Yeah.
To me, that one's a little more understandable because music is frequency. Sound is frequency. I mean, almost everything around us has a frequency. That's why, that's a whole nother discussion right there. So that one, I can kind of get that.
But they're all interconnected, right? They're all frequencies and energy and understanding of the future and a commonality between our thoughts
and light and
it's just they're all interwoven together.
There's definitely something there.
Right.
I just
like
don't.
Why
I just
can you
don't
make
know.
A woman more attracted to you just by staring at her eyes, holding good eye contact with her? You don't have to say a word. I mean, that'd be weird if you're just like staring at her. But
no, she tries to talk. You're like, wait, shut up.
Yeah, it'd be weird if you did that. But I mean, like, it's true though. So to all the younger listeners out there who want some game, you definitely want to hold eye contact with the woman.
McVice is dropping knowledge.
Dropping that knowledge. You can't
for all you poor little virgins out there. You want to get laid? Listen to this guy.
No,
that's right.
No.
Make sure when you're looking into her eyes, you always maintain that eye contact. She should be the first one to break it. But if you can do that, and see, it's not easy for everyone because it's a confidence thing, right? And this is a nonverbal communication, and you could almost say this is kind of weird because
nonverbal cues.
Yeah, just looking into their eyes. If you do a good job of holding your eye contact, you can actually make a woman attracted to you just by looking into her damn eyes. You may not be the sexiest guy out there. It's weird.
Hey, A Strange and Mysterious podcast does not condone staring at random people to get their number.
Staring into their eyes.
Yeah, you want to watch out because you could come off as a stalker in some situations.
Hey, I listened to Pip McVice and I got arrested. What the hell?
Well, there's certain things you want to make sure you're not doing.
Exactly. Well, you want to bring us home, Gabe?
Yeah,
yes, sir.
We're like straying right now, huh?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right. Well, that has been our episode. We will talk to you on the flip side. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Out.